You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, your running's over, that's for sure. He already knows all about you. Cut you down, no matter by you. Now you better walk the line. Real life, real
Warning. This episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that of a sexual nature and should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts I'm retelling you were presented to me by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My descriptions of the crime scenes, what I saw with my own two eyes. If you're going to get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. And we're deep into November now, right? Second week, I think. And continuing, State versus Peterson, Scorched, y'all. It's Scorched, and I'm taking it step by step, giving you information you can't get anywhere else, and ultimately we'll explain why we're still talking about this case and it held such media attention and fascination and still does after 20 years. And I'll tell you again, if it wasn't Scorched, I wouldn't be doing all these podcasts on it, but it's very interesting. We're in the heart of the trial. We're going to start with prosecution witness number 25, David Quarter of the Modesto PD. Now, I've been breaking it down with each witness, y'all, and we're going to go through the whole trial and tell you what's scorched. So at the end, we're going to conclude everything, including this idiot's 20-year first interview from the jailhouse after 20 years, and I can assure you he has an ulterior motive for doing that, but we'll get to that. So prosecution calls David Quarter with the Modesto Police Department. Now, he's part of the Modesto Police Department and a member of the K-9 dog unit, and on December 25th, 2002, he was told they had been searching the park through the night. That's the park by Laci's house. And he was asked to use his K-9 to search the park and the surrounding areas. Now, Officer Gonzalez had been in the park all night with his K-9, and he told Quarter what areas they had already searched. And Quarter had arrived without his dog. Now, Officer Fisher and several other officers searched some of the streets and alleyways around 500 Covina. Again, that's around Laci and Scott's home. They started at the intersection of Covina and Edgebrook, and they walked the front yards all the way down Highland. And they actually walked back in some of the front yard. They walked back in some of the yards to see if someone had gone back there, or maybe Laci was injured, but they did not go into any of the houses, right? So then they came back and went through the alley, which runs behind Highland, and they came back out Santa Barbara and went down Encina, and then one block north on every one of the streets there, Santa Barbara, Santa Cruz, Roland, and Covina, and down one block which he believed was rowable. And so they're doing a grid search. And then once you search the area, you check it off, and there's going to be someone who's coordinated a search, and they'll be able to show them the grid that each one of these areas was searched. So then we went back to the area where Covina meets the park and searched the areas difficult for people to get into. And he took his canine along the southern edge of the park that joins the backyards and they had lots of shrubbery and bushes and trees and shit like that, thick stuff. Now, this canine is trained to search out human scent. Okay, so it's not a cadaver dog. It's a canine that, most of them are Malinois, German Malinois, and they are used for narcotics detection and tracking human beings and, foot pursuits and stuff like that. And he searched eastbound all along the southern edge to where El Vista crosses the park. He worked his canine along the southern edge of the creek bed and through the brushy areas where he could safely get with his canine, all the way to Kewin Park. Now, he noticed there was quite a bit of water in the creek, and the creek had some deep spots. So he requested that Sergeant Beffa to have the fire department search with their raft or their Zodiac. Y'all, those are boats, and that most fire departments have them when you have bodies of water close by, and they're like search and rescue teams. So they entered the creek near the tennis courts and searched all the way to Kewin Park. And Corder then resumed his dog search or his canine search along the southern edge of the park in Kewin Park back to the footpath at Covina. Okay. And on January 6, 2003, at the request of Officer Matt Ponce, he took his all-terrain vehicle to LaGrange to the old bridge to assist in the search of the area. He saw some sand disturbed and some footprints at a mine shaft going into the mountain. And he crawled inside the mine shaft but found nothing. Now, to me, this is a good thing that the law enforcement is doing. They're continuing to search, even though the detectives probably were already, or not probably, they already suspected Scott Peterson. On December 25th, Corder saw some officers talking to some of the transients in the hospital area, below Scenic, a little west of where it intersects with Coffee. And there's a path that leads from the footbridge into the park to Scenic, and it's 50 to 75 yards from the bridge to Scenic. Okay. Still searching. And on December 27, Corder was dispatched to 344 Covina, which is one block down from Encina, and a person passing out flyers walked up to the house and thought they saw someone run to the back of the house. Well, it was a vacant house, and it was under renovation. So Corder peered through the windows on all sides, and a van was parked outside that looked like it hadn't been driven for some time. So Bueller asked about it. So Corder went back to the house on February 27th of 2003, and the house was in the exact same condition. All right. So he's dismissed. Now the weekend comes, and now we're on Monday, the 14th of June, 2004. And the prosecution calls witness number 26, Derek Letzinger of the Modesto Police Department. Now, Letzinger reviewed the time sequence and the walkthroughs. And he said after the walkthrough with Scott, that Scott, as leaving the house, threw his flashlight down and uttered some swear words under his breath. Letzinger and Spurlock went to the Reed house next door to check it out because Scott said it was vacant. And Greg Reed was there. They did a thorough walkthrough, but they didn't see anything suspicious. There was no new food in the refrigerator, indicating Laci had not gone to the grocery store as planned. Talk about it in the Peterson home. The suspicious things were, as I told you earlier, but he's testifying to it now in court, the mop and the buckets and the crumpled up rug, the duffel bags in the bedroom, the mug and glasses on the counter, which they didn't take in evidence. And Letzinger said, Scott said he had used the glasses himself, and the dining room table looked set for some guests when Letzinger arrived with candles and ice shakers and napkins and utensils. So basically it appeared to be set for visitors, okay? So he's dismissed. And we roll into prosecution witness number 27, and that is Matthew Spurlock of Modesto Police Department. So Spurlock also testified about the walkthrough on the night of the 24th. He said after being quizzed about his fishing story, Scott threw down his flashlight and said through gritted teeth, "Fuck." And when he admitted it was not in any report, because the defense is, say, hey, if it didn't happen, you're making it up now if you didn't write in your report. When he admitted it was not in any report, Geragos asked the judge to send the jury out. Now, this happens a lot, y'all, during trials. Anything they can try to get thrown out or whatever. Even if you just come back in and he gets in, then it still throws shade on the witness, right? And certainly they didn't want Scott to be throwing his flashlight down and saying fuck. But Geragos told the judge, said, hey, it violates Rule 1054 regarding discovery. And he asked for the prosecution to be admonished. Now, the judge asked Stasio if he had pre-tried the witness, and he said no. And the judge mildly rebuked him for not doing so. Now, Geragos said they were either negligent for not pre-trying the witness and then informing the defense of all the new stuff, or they were intentionally violating the rules. Now, Judge Laci rejected the motion, and they were bringing the jury back in. Then Stasio volunteered that the officers did tell him before they were going to say that. And Geragos jumps up again, and he demanded the jury be kept out. He then said that he requested he requested for a mistrial, y'all, short of mistrial. He wanted them to be admonished by the judge, and there was lots of sarcastic laughter from the roaches section and audible sounds. And so Geragos turned around and he said he didn't need that from the peanut gallery. And he asked the judge to clear the courtroom if the spectators can't keep silence. The judge said that he would. And after it all, the judge ruled that it was not that egregious and no mistrial was in order, and the jury was brought back in. Y'all, all Geragos is doing is trying again to throw shade on Spurlock and trying to make the jury think, oh, God, they're sending us out. Somebody must have done something wrong, right? So when he comes back in, Geragos again called attention to the dining table being set and also asked about some of the items Spurlock and Letzinger both said were in the kitchen that were not in the pictures that Lovett took. The pizza box and the bottle of ranch, right? If it's not in there, are you lying about it? A reasonable person wouldn't even get it a consideration, but they're trying to put all these little pieces of shit on there to say that the police scorched the investigation. So also, Spurlock said he saw the tennis shoes and sandals near the French doors. He did not examine them. He just made a mental note of them. He also said he did not examine the mug that was on the counter. Well, motherfucker, why didn't you do it? If you thought it was important, why didn't you take it into evidence? But both Letzinger and Spurlock said that they saw Ron Gransky in the park near the footbridge and had a conversation with him, but no one has asked what that conversation was about. Again, y'all, all these are little bitty things that the defense is trying to get in. Well, why didn't you put it in your report? That could be something that exonerated Scott, right? Scorched on the prosecution and the police department. So they dismiss him, and the prosecution witness number 28, Philip Williams, who was with Mother's Work, Inc., and he just introduced some pictures or photos of Laci's clothing that just to get him evidence, and that's all he did. So let's go to Tuesday, June the 15th, 2004. And then the prosecution continues, and they call witness number 29, who is John Evers with the Modesto Police Department. Now, the Detective Evers, he's now a detective. He was a patrol officer back in 2002. He again took them through the 4 walkthroughs of the house first, which was Letzinger, then Evers, then Spurlock, and then Letzinger, Evers, and Spurlock, and Scott, and then third, Brocchini, Evers, and then fourth, Brocchini, Evers, and Scott, and then on to the warehouse. And then everything had already been covered at the preliminary hearing or by other officers, so it's kind of overkill. But a couple things did stand out. And though on cross-examination, first, we learned again that Scott was concerned and did show emotion when speaking with police that night. Evers said the depth of Scott's concern was one of the reasons for calling in more police officers. Evers also admitted that he thought Scott's explanation of the crumpled rug was reasonable. Remember I told you the rug that it looked like something been drug across? And that's why he didn't note it in his report. Not really your job, homie. You were a patrol guy. You should have noted in your report, and the detectives could have followed up on it. But he further stated that it wasn't until the third walkthrough that he first noticed the rags on the washer, and not until the fourth walkthrough that he even noticed the rug, right? Well, there you go. It's all Scorched. But, it's armchair quarterback on Gary Gibson, and they're absolutely playing. They're doing their job. But finally, Evers admitted that he didn't take notice of the quite large dog bed in the master bedroom. Now, the prosecution made a point of asking the housekeeper if she had ever seen Mackenzie in the house. And why would they ask this, y'all? Why would the prosecution ask questions about this when Mackenzie obviously slept in the house? So, anyway, he was dismissed. Now, I'm on the next 4. I'm a witness this. It's prosecution witness number 30, prosecution witness number 31, prosecution witness number 32, and prosecution witness number 33. Number 30 is Lisa Martin, who's a medical assistant and an OBGYN. Number 31 is Lisa Hill, who's a medical assistant to an OBGYN. The number 32 is Karina Ramos, who's a receptionist at the OBGYN. And number 33 is Stacy Josepson, who checked messages for the OBGYN. Now, I'm going to sum it up for you. The 4 employees of the OBGYN office, Garagos did establish that the due date for Laci was corrected by the 20-week sonogram to February 16th. In answer to the prosecution's point that Scott didn't call Laci's doctor on the 24th, Garagos noted that neither did Sharon, her mama, or Ron, stepdad, or Brent, her brother, or Harvey, or anyone else that was concerned about Laci. I don't know why they would be calling the OBGYN. I don't get that. But they got it in. There it is. So let's go to, I took up all Tuesday. Let's go to Wednesday, June the 16th, 2004. And prosecution witness number 34, who is Victoria Gudemuz, a salesperson for Motherhood Maternity. And she basically said that the Motherhood Maternity sales clerk did nothing more than verify that she rang up Laci's purchases on August the 30th, and the store didn't have the correct size for the pants to the red outfit that she wore at the December 14th Christmas party. So the store called her when the correct size came in, and Garagos didn't even bother to cross-examine this witness, right? And I think this is probably, a lot of times the prosecution will put on too much shit, and it sounds like that's what's going on here, but let's see. The prosecution witness number 35 is Ron Cloward of Modesto Police Department, and prosecution witness number 36, Tim Helton of Modesto Police Department. Now, these 2 officers, Cloward and Helton, gave detailed testimony about the search efforts. The prosecution, I don't know, y'all. I'm thinking they're almost fucking up with this testimony. They definitely walking the tightrope. But on the other hand, they want to demonstrate that the search was very thorough. To dispute Garagos' claims that law enforcement rushed to a judgment and didn't carry on a legitimate investigation. Hey, ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore, because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone supporting supplement, it's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC. Hey, y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glace, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something, and all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We've got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference Gobble will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin-baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/real life. That's GOBBLE.com/real life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had. So I understand why the prosecution is doing this, and it seems boring and stupid, but I think that it does come a time where a jury is like, what the fuck what the fuck? And you putting on somebody that she ordered pants back in August. What does that have to do with anything? But let's back to these two. On the other hand, they can't claim that the search of the bay was so thorough to give Garagos the argument and obviously she wasn't in the bay for 4 months or law enforcement would have found her. That's what he's saying. Therefore, her body was planted by the real killers to frame Scott. That's what Garagos is saying. And the defense did raise some interesting points. Some eyewitnesses came forward very early in the search to claim they saw a dog fitting Mackenzie's description running loose in the park with a leash and collar on. And another witness claimed to have seen a woman fitting Laci's description with the dog fitting Mackenzie's description in the park that morning, y'all. These sightings were between 9 and 10 a.m. on December the 24th, okay? So Tom Harshman, who's a retired reserve police officer, who saw a woman fitting Laci's description being forced into a van, described the woman as having black hair and wearing a red top and black pants. Come on now. You got to take some of these with a grain of salt. People, it's got the biggest news coverage in the world. But, I mean, people saying what they're saying, and the police should have investigated. But if you're a retired police officer and you see a woman being forced in the back of a van, aren't you going to call that in? That's what I would think. But they also gave more detailed about the dog alerts at the various waterways other than the bay. They're talking about the dogs that are searching for Laci, which ended up being animal remains. These are the dogs that are specifically trained to find remains, and this kind of kills or takes away some of the effect of the expected testimony that's coming up of the dog alerts on the launch at the pier of the Berkeley Marina. Now, I think the defense scored huge points with the Medina burglary, and this is where it's really Scorched. And they produced the flyers and the press releases, and Garagos established that law enforcement used Diane Jackson's description of the van and 3 men for their search for the burglars. And Garagos further established that this van and these 3 men have not yet been identified by police. Garagos also said that Jackson saw the 3 men with the safe. Garagos, he's obviously trying to convince the jury that the Medina burglary was committed by these 3 men on the 24th, not on the 26th, by the 2 men who were arrested and convicted. Now, y'all, this is Scorched as fuck. This is the one part. There's a lot of parts that get me. The police fucked up on, but there's no way you can say that it was robbed on the home was burglarized on 26th, because by the unused media accounts, the guys were out there, the vans were out there, they were watching Scott's house, and this is directly across the street from Scott's house. It's the biggest story in the world, and all the media is there, right? And they just, was it intentional that they disregarded these tips from these people? And probably not. I think they were focused on Scott, and they just had tunnel vision, is what we call it. When you just focus on one thing, you're disregarding other stuff. But you've got to go take these people's testimony in account and put it in the pool. It's okay. Put it in your report, and at least you question them. And if they have something that's legit, follow up on it, right? And you follow up on it till you disprove it, or you may have to get off of Scott. And that's exactly what Garagos and them are going to say to try to get Scott exonerated. And it's fucked up. The only problem I have, well, not the only problem, I got a lot of problems, but on the main problem I have on the police side is you can't tell me, I mean, those people left the home on December the 24th at 5 a.m., and they get home on the 26th and find the shit's been burglarized, right? But you got the other people saying that Laci confronted them while doing the burglary, as she would have. It's their neighbors, and she knew they were gone, and they got into an altercation, and then that tape is lost. And then Modesto Police Department didn't follow up on it when that corrections lieutenant called it in, and he brought it in, and the fucking tape goes missing. Wow. If I'm on that jury, I mean, there's a lot of bad shit coming up against Scott still, but I've always said there's no such thing as a coincidence in a homicide, and this gives me the biggest pause. This is the most Scorched fucking thing in this case, because you can twist any kind of narrative as an investigator to make it fit if you are looking for confirmational bias, and that's just a fact. So let's go Thursday, June 17, 2004. Prosecution witness, again, number 36, Tim Helton of Modesto Police Department. Now, Garagos is continuing on the theme that law enforcement had significant tips that it did not follow through on. And he's hitting this dude up again. Then this next day, he's hitting him again on the tip that Laci was being held at a location in some place called Tracy. The tip did not include a specific address. It was just a vague description of the area. Now, the officers were advised to go to the area in the daytime only, as it was inhabited by known parolees who were hostile to law enforcement. And they used a helicopter with the infrared sensors, and they did see objects that were giving off heat, okay? And Helton said they could not be certain if it was human heat. It may have been an animal. And when asked if anyone followed up, Helton said, not to his knowledge. Well, let me tell you something. If it's not to your knowledge, motherfucker, then you know y'all didn't follow up on it, all right? They were sent out there. The tip comes in. Like I said, you got to run it down. But you go in there with infrared and you see objects that are giving off heat. And remember I told you in the last episode that I can scan a field at nighttime, and the stumps in the field, just from the heat that they got during the daytime, will be brighter than the grass and stuff surrounding it. But animals would be much brighter, and humans would be much brighter than that. But you see shit, but you don't want to go investigate it because you got some fucking parolees that live in the area that don't like the cops. Well, fuck, you got a badge and a gun. You are absolutely giving Scott Peterson everything he needs. You're giving the reasons why I'm fucking talking about this idiot now. And it's just fucking bad. But the prosecution noted that 3 days have been spent investigating this tip. And, but still, when they get done, you're left with the impression that the heat source was never ruled out as being a human being. You know why? Because it wasn't. And that's scorched as fuck. All right. So, prosecution calls witness number 37, Dr. Tina Edraki, who is Laci's MD at Hera Medical Group. Now, Dr. Edraki testified about Laci's pregnancy progress. And of particular interest were the notations about Laci's complaints of dizziness and the recommendation that she discontinue exercising or do so later in the day after eating something. And just 2 days later, Laci complained of shortness of breath while walking. And Geragos asked the doctor to draw the obvious conclusion that Laci was not following those instructions. And Geragos also asked the doctor if knowing the date of ovulation in sexual activity would be a more precise way of determining the gestational age than using the will or the sonogram. And he seemed to indicate, I'm talking about Geragos, and he seemed to indicate that he's going to produce evidence that Laci knew the date of her ovulation since she was using an ovulation calculator. But nothing on the chart indicated that Laci gave that information to the doctor, right? So, dismiss. And prosecution calls witness number 38, Mary Anna Felix of Edwards Jury. Now, I don't really know, but y'all, they also, let's just condense some of these. They also called prosecution witness number 39, Jeff Schumacher of Edwards Jury. Now, Felix and Schumacher are the juries that Laci asked to redesign her wedding ring, and they adding diamonds taken from her grandmother's wedding ring and another ring. And the diamond in the grandmother's wedding ring was a 2.5 carat. And the finished ring was valued at $55,000, and the total jury inheritance at least $100,000. And the ring was still at their shop when Laci disappeared, and Scott did not call or go to reclaim the ring. And Felix called the police to let them know the ring was there, and then Sharon Roach went down and picked it up. Okay, interesting, I guess, right? So, moving on to prosecution witness number 40, Robin Maria Rocha, who is Laci's aunt and the co-executor of the Rocha estate I told you about earlier. So She testified about turning her mother's jury over to Laci, along with a list, and identified several of the pieces of jewelry. She was asked by the police to identify any missing pieces. She did not identify a Croton watch as being missing, and I think that was part of the inheritance, y'all. Geragos asked if she used the list she and Laci compiled to determine which items were missing, and she says she didn't, as she did not have possession of that list. It went to Laci along with the jury. All right, moving on. Prosecution witness number 41, Michael Robert Emilio, who's their pool guy, y'all, literally a pool service man. Now, Emilio, who services the Peterson's pool, did little more than establish that Mackenzie barked constantly while he was there for his 8-minute or so check and treatment of the pool. And police reports said they told them he went to the Petersons on Mondays, but he testified that he did so on Tuesdays. However, he was off the whole week of December 24th. And then, Geragos is trying to get in that Mackenzie obviously would have been barking, and that the people's timeline was wrong. So neither here nor there really gets down. Now I'm going to tell you about two pawnbrokers. And that's prosecution witness number 42 and number 43. And it's David Brooks and Victoria Brooks, and they're both pawnbrokers. Now, David and Tori Brooks testified about jewelry items that Laci sold. And it was $140 worth that she sold on December 10th and $110 worth on December 14th. Tori Brooks reported Laci was a little bit agitated with Scott, apparently because he was rubbing her stomach and she didn't want him to. But this is not news. Geragos' introduction of the pawn receipt from a different pawn shop dated December 31st for the Croton watch Laci inherited from her grandmother. And okay, now he's saying, somebody, obviously they took her and they killed her and they took the watch and they pawned it somewhere else. And the prosecution objects. They're all pissed off. No, they can't do that, because now if somebody else took the watch, somebody else could have killed Laci, right? Scorched that the prosecution wasn't prepared for this. It's in your 30,000 fucking pages of documents. Why don't you know about it, y'all? And the prosecution lost their objection, and Geragos did not provide. No, this fucked up on his part. Scorched. Geragos did not provide any information about who pawned the watch. Right? Now, if you got a motherfucker to pawn a dead woman's watch, you would think that you are going to throw all kinds of shade on that motherfucker. Except Geragos did. He knew what the prosecution did know, that there was some harmless explanation, but he had a major victory in my mind there, throwing shade that, hey, well, they went to a pawnbroker together in the beginning of December, but after she's dead, or after she's missing, somebody else pawns this Croton watch. Well, out of that, Scorched and prosecution just fucking missed it. Now, that's not the cop's job. They could have gone out and investigated, but the prosecution just missed it. All right. So let's move on to Monday, the 21st of June of 2004. Now, before court begins, they have an in-chambers meeting. Oh, yeah, this is bad. But they have an in the judge's chambers meeting on juror number 5 and Brent Rocha, and they're calling it the incident. Now, the judge calls them in, the prosecution and defense, and he announces that the deal about juror number 5 was all fabricated by the media. The judge said he questioned both Brent and juror number 5 separately, and their stories matched perfectly. Now, Geragos wanted it entered into the record that the story put out by some media was a total fabrication. Almost 100% was 100% false. And Judge Laci said in the in-chambers transcript would be released to the public so everyone will know the truth. Okay, Let's talk about this for a second. Scorched as fuck, y'all. You've got 6 extra jurors, all right? Alternates are sitting in there. And what happened was the media story broke that said that Brent and juror number 5 had some kind of interaction in the hallway. Now, look, when you're on a jury, you're not supposed to fucking talk to anybody. And you certainly aren't supposed to talk to any of the victim's family members, because why? Because then you can make an emotional attachment to them, right? And then that might sway your vote on Scott's guilt or innocence. Same way you're not supposed to talk to the cops. Look, I've been in jury trials where I would go get on the elevator and somebody that was on the jury was on the elevator. I'm like, fuck it, I'd go the other way, take the stairs, go find another elevator. It's very, very serious. I think the judge fucked up on this, and we shouldn't be talking about it because it could have just as easily dismissed it, and it would never come up later on. All right. So they go back to trial, and the prosecution witness number 44, who is Stacy Boyers, who's Laci's friend. Now, Boyers said Scott didn't want any pictures of Laci that had him in them to be circulated to the media. And on December 25th, when she was at their house on Covina, he was vacuuming the area around the washer and dryer. And when she asked him why, I told y'all most of this, right? He said he couldn't keep the house clean enough. And she didn't know about the affair, with Amber Fry, okay? So neither here nor there. Still doesn't look good. Scott's explanation naturally was going to be that he was doing it to hide it from Amber. On cross-examination, Geragos asked how many people had been in and out of the house on the 24th and the 25th, and about the dogs and the cats coming in and going, right, in and out. He also brought up Scott saying that he didn't want his pictures out because he wanted it to be about Laci, not him. This is not true. We all know that he was banging Amber Fry, and he didn't want Amber to know about it. But Boyers also said that a party on November 20th is the first time she saw Laci wear the grandmother's jewelry. And she hadn't at any party on November the 14th, so just a week later she's wearing it. The jewelry Laci was wearing on November 20th was very noticeable on her ring, and it attracted attention. And at the party on December 14th, she was not wearing the pendant. And this is the one the juror said Laci always wore and wouldn't take off. Okay, neither here nor there. Building bricks, people. So you move on to prosecution witness number 45 and 46. One is named Lori Ellsworth, and the other Renee Tomlinson, both friends of Laci's. Okay, and for the most part, the prosecution used their testimony to demonstrate that Laci was too tired and too uncomfortable to be walking the dog on December the 24th. And this is a point repeated several times, is that Scott insisted that no pictures of Laci with him in them were to be distributed to the media. And when asked why, he said he wanted this to be about Laci, not about him. And Lori Ellsworth said that Laci's friends were invited to attend Amber's press conference, and that Amber spent the night, they're talking about Amber Fry, Amber spent that night at her house. After Amber's press conference, Bueller interviewed the friends all together to see what they remembered looking back. Hey, y'all, changing my wardrobe from summer to fall, it's never easy. Luckily, Quince offers timeless and high-quality items I adore. Ensure my wardrobe stays fresh and I don't blow my budget. And there's nothing easier than going to Quince and choosing these high-quality items, like cashmere sweaters from $50, pants for every occasion, washable silk tops, and so much more. The best part? All Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes, and I love that. I got the stainless steel Link Apple Watch band for $59.90. It's heavy duty. It's awesome. And it's like $100 less than I could find anywhere else. And I also got a 100% organic cotton fisherman quarter zip up sweater. The color is alabaster. Man, I can't wait to wear that this fall. And Cindy got the Mongolian cashmere boat neck sweater in heather gray. And I'm telling you, these are classic pieces at a fraction of the price. Make switching seasons a breeze with Quince's high-quality closet essentials. Go to quince.com/RLRC for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/RLRC to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/RLRC. You'll thank me later. Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts that spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser-cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gift to the coolest finds for kids, to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. Again, the defense is going to say you're still just focused on Scott. You're interviewing them, but not chasing down heat signatures in an alley because you're afraid to send cops down there and shit like that. It's just, you got a pawn slip from a jewelry store where the grandmother's missing watch was pawned and Scott didn't do it, and it's after Laci's dead. And they're doing a pretty good job, but let's move on. Prosecution witness number 47, Deborah Wolski, who is Laci's yoga instructor. Now, she testified about the amount of jewelry Laci was wearing on one of her visits. And then the same day, she was bringing it to a juror to be appraised. And she admitted, or she estimated the jewelry to be worth about $55,000. Now, who the fuck? I would, if I was a Garagos, I would have objected to that. You're a yoga instructor. How do you know what it's worth? But anyway, she also testified about Laci's condition on December 20th, saying Laci was in pain and needed assistance getting to her car. Why are they saying that? Because, again, they're trying to say that Laci wasn't walking to the park. And Laci told her the baby had shifted to a sideways position and asked her assistants to get him to shift back. Now, Garagos and them get another point with her testimony. Through as time after time, Garagos referred to her to what a police report said she said. And she would reply, I didn't say that, or I never told him that. And this is a recurring theme throughout this whole trial, y'all. Information put into police reports that witnesses get on the stand and say, I didn't say that. And one could be a mistake. 2, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, something's fucking wrong. And Garagos is actually doing a very good job on making Modesto Police Department look scorched. All right, moving on. Tuesday, the 22nd of June, 2004. They wanted a stipulation to Deborah Wolski's testimony. And the first stipulation pertains to the testimony of Ms. Wolski, who testified the day before. I just told y'all about her testimony. And he said, you remember the lady? And then here's the stipulation. The stipulation as it relates to Deborah Wolski's testimony. The parties stipulate, that being the defense and the prosecution, that Deborah Wolski, the last witness who testified yesterday, never told anyone from the prosecution or the Modesto Police Department that Laci had to be helped to the car or had difficulty walking on uneven surfaces, right? This is the first stipulation in the whole trial. So what happened after she got done, they were looking at their shit because they're like, oh, fuck, why didn't we get this? And da-da-da-da-da. Well, they get through and it's not in the report. Again, it's not in the report. It didn't happen, right? And so they had this hearing before court opens with the jury on Tuesday, June 22nd, and they had to agree to it, okay? So then there's another stipulation, because then now somebody's doing their job. They're trying to get shit thrown out. And this is about a videotaped interview between Detective Rocchini and Scott. And the stipulation reads, the parties stipulate that only the relevant portions of the videotaped interview between Detective Rocchini and Scott Peterson will be shown to the jury. Okay? I don't know who thinks they're fucking... I don't want to say qualified. You should be able to show the whole thing. If I'm the prosecution, I want to show the whole thing. And I'm sure he might have been picking his nose or doing something or whatever when they weren't in the room, and that's why they did it. It's not obviously for evidentiary reasons, but if you're telling me and I'm on the jury, we're not going to show you the whole video, right? We're just going to show you parts that we think are important for you to see. I'm going to be like, motherfucker, I want to see it all. And again, not good. Not good for prosecution. So they move on, and here comes a big one. And the prosecution calls witness number 48, Detective Alan Brocchini with the Modesto Police Department, right? Now, most of Brocchini's testimony is just a recap of the same shit he said at the preliminary hearing. But they needed to get it into the court records, y'all, because the jury hadn't heard it, all right? And so some new information did come out, and that always causes a problem. But after the preliminary hearing, and now he's on the stand, some of the new stuff that came out, we now know that what happened to the pizza that was on the counter when the police first arrived, that Scott said he ate with the ranch at that home, but it wasn't there when the photos was taken later that night. Simple enough. Scott had put it back in the fridge. Okay, easily explained, but it didn't look good. Remember, Garagos is doing his job. We also learned that on March 28, 2003, it was an important day for Amber Fry, as Scott made note of it in both his notebooks and a day planner. And we learned that Ron Fry had called Scott. It was listed as one of the last 10 phone calls on one of Scott's cell phones on February the 18th. Remember, the police had all this shit tapped. Then there was some damage control, y'all. You now have Detective Brocchini's explanation for not noticing that meringue was mentioned on December 24th Martha Stewart show. That's huge, right? Scott said no, she was watching something on Martha Stewart about meringue, and in the opening they got up and said that was a lie. But it was mentioned only once, and he didn't have the written transcript at the time. And he testified about the financial records and the suggestion to Trade Corps that they audit Scott. But we're left with a whole shit ton of unanswered questions, right? First, what was the condition of Mackenzie's leash when Scott came home? Now, Karen Servas has said it was very muddy with leaves and dirt, And when she put him in the backyard, it was so dirty that she had to wash her hands, y'all. And there's no mention of Scott having to wash his hands after removing the leash. Yeah, I think he ate the pizza with his hands. So I don't understand that, but it's there. So none of the police that did the walkthroughs ever mentioned the condition of the leash, whether it was muddy or dirty or clean or whatever. And Karen Servas had talked to the cops that night, and when she talked to Scott on the phone, he handed her over to one of the officers, and she told him about finding Mackenzie in the front yard. The gate was open, and she put him up. Why weren't the cops interested in the condition of the leash, right? That's not, I mean, fuck, if you just checked the leash out, wrote it down, checked it out, we wouldn't be talking about it, all right? But it gives way that Mackenzie wasn't there. Remember the mailman said that he wasn't barking at him? Gives way to Scorched that Laci was actually in the park. So anyway, it becomes even more important because they did look into the Christmas lights. Remember the lady said when she left, Scott wasn't there, and she returns home, Scott's truck is there, and the lights are on the Christmas tree. Well, guess what? They did look and see that the Christmas tree lights were not on a timer, but it had to be plugged into an outlet that was in the shed. I don't understand that. But Amy Krigbaum testified that the lights were not on during the day. Remember I told you about her? They came on about 4:30. And she had not seen Scott's pickup truck in the drive at any time during the day, and because she woke up after he left, right? And it was not in the drive when she saw the lights come on. So who turned the lights on? Not looking good. Then Scott said they were off when he returned from the park that night. He thought maybe the cat was playing with the cord or something and had unplugged it. But the biggest hit for the prosecution to this point, I believe, is that Scott is referring to Laci in the past tense during that interview on the night of the 24th. And no matter how you try to explain that away, and when you're referring to a loved one that's missing in the past tense, that leaves, I mean, obviously he didn't realize he was referring to her in the past tense, but for me as an investigator, I'm like, motherfucker, she's missing. She might be down at Walgreens. And this all, we're jumping through hoops for nothing, right? But he kept referring to her in the past tense. And remember, he asked for the grief counseling stuff. And they were like, man, she's just missing, dude. And he was like, no, her family's going to need it. Yeah. Scorched on Scott. And we are going to stop there because the next part, these next parts, it's all Scorched, and we're going to talk about. We're just going to continue step by step through the trial, and there are like 3 or 4 more huge things that absolutely, if I was on the jury, or on appeal, Scott Peterson would be free, and they had done their jobs. I mean, but I don't know. It's just Scorched, y'all. And thank you for listening and liking and sharing. And I appreciate love each and every one of you. Y'all go check out the Real Life Real Crime Community app. It's in the App Store. Download it for free. Check out our TikTok under Real Life Real Crime. Some pretty funny shit on there. And just 2 more weeks until the new Real Life Real Crime rolls out November 1 on a Friday. And I'll tell you about that when we get closer. LOPA, Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency. And you don't have to, they're a nonprofit, and they help these families, and they help people live longer lives so they can be with their families and be a hero. Sign up to be an organ donor. And if you are a lifer from, I need to get me another map in here. If you're a lifer from Tokyo, and you want to become an organ donor, you don't have to be from Louisiana. Go to lopa.org, take 2 minutes, fill out the questionnaire, become a hero, right? become a hero, save a life. And I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And until next time, or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder Bayou. Peace. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to and during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?